The morning fog wrapped around Elmsworth Palace like a thick gray blanket. King William sat at his mahogany desk, reading through the daily reports when his private secretary, Lord Pemberton, burst through the door. The old man's face was pale, and his hand shook as he held a cream-colored envelope. "Your Majesty," Pemberton's voice cracked. "This arrived 3 days ago. It was found hidden in Princess Catherine's study. The staff only discovered it this morning when they were cleaning." King William's heart stopped. His beloved daughter-in-law, Princess Catherine, had been missing for 3 days. The palace had kept it quiet, hoping she would return. The public believed she was resting at the countryside estate due to exhaustion. But the truth was far more troubling. No one had seen her since Tuesday evening. The king took the envelope with steady hands, though his mind raced. The paper felt expensive, the kind Catherine always used for her personal correspondence. His name was written across the front in her elegant handwriting. He noticed something strange, a small water stain in the corner, as if a tear had fallen there. "Leave me," he commanded softly. Lord Pemberton bowed and retreated, closing the heavy oak door behind him. King William sat back in his chair, staring at the envelope. Catherine had been like a daughter to him. After his son Prince Michael had married her 5 years ago, she had brought life back to the palace. Her laugh echoed through the halls, and her kindness touched everyone from the kitchen staff to the highest nobles. With trembling fingers, he broke the royal seal. The letter inside was brief, but each word seemed to carry the weight of the world. "My dear father," it began. King William's eyes misted. She had always called him father, never your majesty in private. "By the time you read this, I will be gone. Please know that this decision tears my heart apart, but I have no choice. There are things happening in this palace that you do not know about, dangers that threaten not just me, but everyone I love. I have discovered something that changes everything we believed about the royal family's history. Trust no one, not even those closest to you. I am going somewhere safe, where the truth can be protected. Please do not look for me. It will only put you in danger. Tell Michael I love him more than words can say. The answers you seek are hidden where Queen Margaret's portrait watches over tea and memories. Remember our conversation about the sparrow and the crown? All my love, Catherine." King William read the letter 3 times, each reading making less sense than the last. What danger? What discovery? He thought about their last conversation. They had been having tea in the blue room, beneath the portrait of his grandmother, Queen Margaret. Catherine had been telling him a story about a sparrow that had flown into the crown room and couldn't find its way out. He had laughed at the time, thinking it was just one of her charming observations. Now, it seemed like it might have been a clue. The king stood and walked to the window, looking out at the palace grounds. Somewhere out there, Catherine was hiding, protecting some dangerous secret. His mind raced through the possibilities. Had she uncovered corruption, a plot against the crown? Or was it something deeper, something about the royal family itself? He thought about Prince Michael, who was currently on a diplomatic mission in Australia. The prince had been told his wife was ill, nothing more. How could William explain this letter? How could he tell his son that his wife had vanished into the morning, leaving only cryptic words behind? The blue room was on the other side of the palace, in the old wing that tourists never saw. King William hadn't been there in months. As he walked through the palace corridors, he noticed things he had never paid attention to before. The way servants quickly looked away when he passed. The new security cameras that had been installed last month. The fact that Lord Harrington, the palace security chief, always seemed to be watching from doorways. King William made a decision. He would go to the blue room alone. Whatever Catherine had hidden there, whatever truth she had discovered, he would find it. He owed her that much. As he walked, he tucked the letter into his jacket pocket, feeling its weight against his heart. The palace suddenly felt different to him. Every shadow could hide a secret. Every whisper might be about Catherine. The walls that had protected his family for centuries now felt like they were closing in. What had his beloved daughter-in-law stumbled upon? And, more importantly, was she truly safe, or was her disappearance the result of something far more sinister? The grandfather clock in the hall chimed noon as King William approached the blue room. He had 3 hours before the weekly cabinet meeting, 3 hours before he would have to pretend everything was normal. 3 hours to begin unraveling the mystery of Princess Catherine's disappearance. As his hand touched the doorknob of the blue room, he remembered something Catherine had said months ago. Sometimes, Father, the greatest threats come from within the castle walls. He had thought she was talking about palace intrigue and gossip. Now, he wondered if she had been trying to warn him. The king took a deep breath and turned the handle. Whatever secrets lay beyond this door, whatever truth had driven Catherine away, he would face it. For his family, for his kingdom, for the brave young woman who had called him father and trusted him with her final message. The blue room hadn't been used in months. Dust particles danced in the afternoon sunlight that streamed through tall windows. King William stood in the doorway, his eyes scanning the familiar space. Everything looked exactly as he remembered. The antique furniture covered in blue silk, the china cabinet with his grandmother's tea set, and there, hanging above the fireplace, the portrait of Queen Margaret. His grandmother stared down at him from the painting, her eyes seeming to follow his movements. She had been a formidable woman, ruling the kingdom for 60 years through wars and peace. What secrets had she taken to her grave? King William walked slowly around the room, running his fingers along the furniture, looking for anything out of place. Catherine's message had been clear. The answers were hidden where Queen Margaret watched over tea and memories. But where exactly? He stopped at the china cabinet. The tea set inside was from Queen Margaret's wedding, delicate porcelain with gold trim and tiny painted roses. No one had used it in decades. As he opened the cabinet, he noticed something odd. One of the teacups was turned backward, its handle facing the wrong direction. Catherine was always meticulous about such things. Carefully, he lifted the cup. Underneath, folded into a tiny square, was a piece of paper. His heart raced as he unfolded it. It was a photograph, old and yellowed at the edges. The image showed Queen Margaret as a young woman, standing next to a man King William didn't recognize. They were in front of a building he had never seen before. On the back, in faded ink, someone had written, M&R Prague, 1962. Before the choice, King William frowned. His grandmother had never been to Prague in 1962. According to all official records, she had been on a state visit to Canada that year. And who was our? More puzzling was the phrase before the choice. What choice? He pocketed the photograph and continued searching. Behind the portrait of Queen Margaret, he found a small lever. When he pulled it, a section of the wall panel clicked open, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a leather journal, its pages yellowed with age, and a modern USB drive. The journal was in his grandmother's handwriting. He opened it to the first page and read, "If you're reading this, then the secret I have guarded for 40 years is about to be revealed. I pray you have the wisdom to know what to do with the truth." King William sank into one of the blue silk chairs, the journal trembling in his hands. As he read, his world began to unravel. The journal told a story he had never imagined, a story of a young Princess Margaret who had fallen in love with a commoner named Robert during a secret trip to Prague. She had been pregnant with his child when her father, the king, discovered the relationship. The choice had been simple and cruel: give up the child and marry the approved prince, or lose everything. Margaret had chosen duty, but the child, a son, had been raised in secret by a trusted family in Czechia. The boy had grown up never knowing his true parentage. But that wasn't the worst of it. The journal revealed that Margaret had never stopped investigating what happened to her son. In her final years, she had discovered something terrible. Her son had died young, but he had left behind a daughter. That daughter had eventually moved to England, changed her name, and, through a twist of fate that Margaret could never have predicted, had married into the royal family. King William's hands shook as he read the final entry. "Catherine must never know that she is my great-granddaughter. The scandal would destroy the monarchy. But I fear someone else knows. I've seen the signs, the blackmail attempts, the threats. They're getting bolder. If Catherine ever discovers the truth, she must run. She must protect herself and the secret. The monarchy must survive, even if it means living a lie." The king felt as if the floor had dropped away beneath him. Princess Catherine, his beloved daughter-in-law, was his own cousin. She was royal blood, hidden in plain sight. Someone had discovered this secret and was using it against her. No wonder she had run. He picked up the USB drive, knowing he would need to find a secure computer to read its contents. As he stood to leave, he heard footsteps in the corridor outside. They were slow, measured, deliberate. Someone knew he was here. King William quickly returned everything to its hiding place except for the USB drive, which he slipped into his pocket. He moved to the window, pretending to admire the garden view as the door opened behind him. "Your Majesty." Lord Harrington's voice was smooth as silk. "I heard you were visiting the old wing. Is everything all right?" The king turned slowly, his face a mask of royal composure. "Just reminiscing, Harrington. My grandmother loved this room." Lord Harrington's eyes swept the room, lingering on the china cabinet. "Indeed, sir. Queen Margaret was a remarkable woman. Full of secrets, they say." There was something in his tone that made King William's blood run cold. How much did Harrington know? How long had he known it? "All old houses have their secrets," the king replied carefully. "But some are best left buried." "Oh, I quite agree," Harrington said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Though sometimes secrets have a way of surfacing. Like missing princesses, for instance." The staff are beginning to talk. "My daughter-in-law is recovering at Bramley House," King William said firmly. "She needs rest." "Of course, sir. Though it's strange that the Bramley House staff haven't seen her either." Harrington stepped closer. "Your Majesty, if there's anything you need help with, any problem that needs solving, you know you can trust me. I've served this family for 30 years. I know how to handle delicate situations." The threat was subtle but clear. King William met his gaze steadily. "I'm sure you do, Harrington. That will be all." Lord Harrington bowed, but before he left, he added, "Your Majesty might be interested to know that we've had some unusual activity on the palace computer systems. Someone accessed classified records 3 days ago. The digital footprint leads to Princess Catherine's private study." After he left, King William stood alone in the blue room, his mind racing. Catherine had discovered her true identity and had accessed records to confirm it. Someone, possibly Harrington, had been watching and had threatened her. She had run to protect herself and the monarchy from scandal. But where'd she gone? The letter mentioned she was somewhere safe, protecting the truth. King William thought about the photograph of Prague. Could she have gone there to trace her real roots? He needed to read the USB drive's contents and decide his next move. One thing was certain, Catherine was in danger, and the threat was inside the palace itself. The conspiracy ran deeper than just blackmail over a family secret. Someone wanted to use this information to control or destroy the monarchy. As he left the blue room, King William made a decision. He would find Catherine, but he would have to be careful. He couldn't trust anyone in the palace, not even those who had served his family for decades. The game of secrets and lies that his grandmother had started was still being played, and Catherine was now the most important piece on the board. The king walked back to his study, his mind already forming a plan. He would need allies outside the palace, people he could trust absolutely. And he would need to move quickly, because if Lord Harrington knew about the missing princess, others would soon know too. And when they did, Catherine's life would be in even greater danger. The portrait of Queen Margaret seemed to watch him go, her painted eyes holding secrets that had shaped the destiny of the royal family. King William understood now why Catherine had run. The question was, could he find her before those who wished to use her secret found her first? That evening, King William sat in his private study, the door locked and the curtains drawn. He had dismissed his staff early, claiming a headache. The USB drive felt heavy in his hand as he inserted it into his personal laptop, the one that wasn't connected to the palace network. The drive contained dozens of files. Documents, photographs, and financial records sprawled across his screen. As he read through them, the full scope of the conspiracy became clear. Catherine hadn't just discovered her true heritage. She had uncovered a network of corruption that reached into the highest levels of the palace administration. Lord Harrington, it seemed, had been running a sophisticated blackmail operation for years. He had dirt on dozens of nobles, politicians, and business leaders. But His masterpiece was going to be the revelation of Catherine's true identity. The file showed he had been planning to expose the secret during the upcoming coronation anniversary. Maximum impact for maximum profit. But Catherine had been smarter than he anticipated. She had been gathering evidence against him for months, building a case that would destroy him. The files in the USB drive weren't just about her heritage. They were a complete dossier of Harrington's crimes. King William found a video file labeled "For Michael." His heart ached as he clicked play. Catherine's face appeared on the screen, tired and worried, but still beautiful. "My darling Michael," she began, her voice breaking slightly. "If you're watching this, then your father has found my hidden files. I'm so sorry for leaving without explanation, but I couldn't risk putting you in danger. What I've discovered threatens everything we hold dear. Lord Harrington has been planning a coup of sorts, not with armies, but with secrets. He knows about my heritage, about Queen Margaret's hidden child. But more than that, he has been positioning his allies throughout the palace, the government, even the military. He plans to use my secret to force your father to abdicate, to put you on the throne as a puppet king with me, as the illegitimate princess by your side. Both of us under his control." She paused, wiping away tears. "I couldn't let that happen. So I've gone to the one place where I can be safe and where I can release all this information without being stopped. By now, journalists around the world will be receiving copies of Harrington's files. The scandal will be enormous, but it will destroy him before he can destroy us. I'm staying hidden until it's safe to return. Please don't try to find me. Harrington has people everywhere. Trust only your father and wait for my signal. I love you more than life itself. Be strong, my prince." The video ended, and King William sat back, stunned. Catherine hadn't just run away. She had gone on the offensive. She was out there somewhere, orchestrating Harrington's downfall from the shadows. His respect for his daughter-in-law grew even more. She was protecting the monarchy in her own way, sacrificing her comfort and safety for the greater good. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Your Majesty," came Lord Pemberton's voice. "I'm sorry to disturb you, but there's been a development." King William quickly closed the laptop and unlocked the door. Pemberton entered, his face grave. "Sir, Lord Harrington has called an emergency meeting of the Privy Council for tomorrow morning. He claims to have information about a serious security breach that threatens the monarchy." So, Harrington was making his move. Without Catherine to use as leverage, he was going for a direct attack. King William nodded slowly. "Thank you, Pemberton. Tell me, old friend, how long have you served this family?" 43 years, Your Majesty, since I was a young man. And in all that time, have you ever known me to run from a fight?" A small smile crossed Pemberton's weathered face. "Never, sir." "Good. Then, we won't start now. Send messages to Lord Chancellor Whitmore and General Morrison. I want to see them tonight, privately. And, Pemberton, use the old protocol. Nothing digital." Understanding dawned in the old man's eyes. The king was preparing for battle, using methods that predated Harrington's surveillance network. After Pemberton left, King William returned to the laptop. He found another file, this one labeled Prague Contact. It contained a single phone number with a Czech country code. Could this be where Catherine was hiding? He picked up his personal mobile phone, the one registered under a false name for security purposes, and dialed the number. It rang 3 times before a woman answered in Czech. "I'm sorry," King William said in English. "I'm looking for someone. A friend who might have come to you recently." There was a pause, then the woman switched to accented English. "Who is calling, please?" King William thought quickly. Catherine's letter had mentioned the sparrow and the crown. "The sparrow has left the crown," he said carefully. "I want to make sure she's safe." Another pause, longer this time. "Then, the sparrow is safe. She sings in a new garden now. But the crown must prove it is not tarnished before the sparrow can return. Tell the sparrow that the crown understands. The hunter will be caught in his own trap soon. I will pass on a message. The sparrow will be watching." The line went dead. King William allowed himself a small moment of relief. Catherine was safe, and she was waiting for him to deal with Harrington. He looked at the clock. 6 hours until the Privy Council meeting. 6 hours to turn the tables on a man who had plotted against the crown for years. He thought about Queen Margaret, about the choice she had made all those years ago. She had chosen duty over love, monarchy over truth. But her great-granddaughter had found a way to protect both. Catherine wasn't running from her heritage. She was using it as a weapon against those who would exploit it. King William opened a secure drawer in his desk and pulled out a document he had hoped never to use. It was a royal warrant, signed and sealed, giving him emergency powers in case of treason against the crown. Tomorrow, Lord Harrington would learn what happened to those who threatened the royal family. But tonight, he had preparations to make, allies to gather, evidence to secure. And somewhere in Prague, a brave princess was waiting for the signal to come home. The king looked at Queen Margaret's portrait on his wall, a smaller version of the one in the Blue Room. "Your secret is out, grandmother," he said quietly. "But your great-granddaughter is making sure it won't destroy what you worked so hard to protect." As he began to plan his strategy for tomorrow's confrontation, King William felt a strange sense of peace. The monarchy had survived wars, scandals, and revolution. It would survive this too. And when it was over, Princess Catherine would return, not as a victim of her hidden heritage, but as a hero who had saved the crown from its greatest internal threat. The game was nearly over. The king was ready to make his final move. The next morning came too quickly. King William had spent the night coordinating with his allies, ensuring that every piece of evidence was in place. Lord Chancellor Whitmore and General Morrison had been shocked by the revelations, but had pledged their full support. The net was closing around Lord Harrington, though he didn't know it yet. The Privy Council chamber was filled with tension as the members filed in. Lord Harrington stood at the far end, a folder of documents in his hand and a satisfied smile on his face. He believed he was about to deliver the killing blow to the monarchy's reputation. "Your Majesty, lords and ladies," Harrington began, his voice carrying across the ancient chamber. "I come before you today with grave news. Princess Catherine has abandoned her duties and fled the country. But more troubling is why she ran." He paused for dramatic effect. King William sat calmly, his face revealing nothing. "I have discovered that the princess has been living under a false identity. She is, in fact, the illegitimate great-granddaughter of Queen Margaret, born from a liaison that was covered up decades ago. She has been deceiving us all, and when confronted with the truth, she fled rather than face justice." Gasps echoed around the chamber. Several council members turned to look at the king, waiting for his response. Lord Harrington continued, "I have here documented proof of this deception. I believe we must act quickly to protect the integrity of the monarchy. Perhaps it's time to consider whether His Majesty, who clearly knew about this deception, is still fit to—" "Lord Harrington," King William interrupted, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. "Before you continue, I have something to show the council." He nodded to General Morrison, who opened the chamber doors. Palace guards entered, more than usual, and took positions around the room. Harrington's smile faltered slightly. King William stood, pulling out his own folder. "Lord Harrington is correct about one thing. Princess Catherine does indeed have a connection to Queen Margaret that was hidden. But she only discovered this truth recently, when Lord Harrington attempted to blackmail her with it." "That's a lie," Harrington protested. "Is it?" King William opened his folder. "Then perhaps you can explain these bank records showing payments from various nobles and politicians into your private accounts in Switzerland. Payments that coincide with favorable palace decisions for these individuals." He began distributing copies of the evidence Catherine had gathered. "Or perhaps you can explain these emails, planning to use Princess Catherine's heritage to force my abdication. Tell me, Harrington, how long have you been planning your coup?" The color drained from Harrington's face as he saw his own communications laid bare before the council. Around the room, council members were reading with growing horror and anger. "For 30 years, King William continued, his voice growing stronger, you have served this family while simultaneously working to destroy it. You have blackmailed, threatened, and conspired. Princess Catherine didn't flee because she was discovered. She left to protect herself from you and to ensure this evidence reached the right hands." Lord Chancellor Whitmore stood up. Lord Harrington, by the authority vested in me, you are under arrest for treason, blackmail, and conspiracy against the crown. As guards moved toward him, Harrington made one last desperate play. You can arrest me, but the truth is still out there. The people will know that their princess is a fraud. No, King William said firmly. They will know that their princess is a hero, that she sacrificed her safety to expose a traitor. And as for her heritage, yes, she carries royal blood that was hidden. But that makes her more royal, not less. Queen Margaret's great-granddaughter has proven herself worthy of the crown's trust in ways you never could understand. The guards seized Harrington, who struggled futilely. As they dragged him toward the door, he shouted, "This isn't over. I have allies. People who will. Your allies have already been arrested." General Morrison informed him coldly. "We've been busy this morning. Your network is finished, Harrington." After Harrington was removed, the council sat in stunned silence. Finally, Lord Pemberton spoke. "Your Majesty, what about Princess Catherine? When will she return?" King William smiled for the first time in days. "I suspect sooner than we think. She's been monitoring the situation from afar. Now that the threat has been neutralized, she can come home." As if on cue, his personal phone buzzed. A message appeared. "The sparrow sees the cage is broken. She flies home at dawn." See, relief flooded through him. Tomorrow, Catherine would return. The crisis was over, the conspiracy defeated. The monarchy had faced its greatest internal threat and survived. That evening, King William stood in the Blue Room again, looking up at Queen Margaret's portrait. "Your secret brought us to the edge of disaster," he said softly. "But it also gave us Catherine, and she saved us all." He thought about the letter Catherine had left, about her courage in facing the truth and protecting those she loved. Tomorrow, he would welcome her home not just as his daughter-in-law, but as a true princess who had earned her place through sacrifice and bravery. The palace staff were already preparing for her return. Prince Michael had been notified and was flying back from Australia. The public would be told a carefully crafted version of the truth, that Princess Catherine had been conducting a secret investigation into corruption and had needed to go into protective hiding. As for her true heritage, that would remain a family secret, known only to those who needed to know. Some secrets, King William had learned, were worth keeping, not out of shame, but out of wisdom. The sparrow had flown far, but she was coming home to her crown, and the monarchy would be stronger for her journey. Dawn broke over Elmsworth Palace with a golden glow that seemed to chase away the shadows of the past week. King William stood at the private entrance, Prince Michael beside him, both watching the long driveway for the first sign of approaching cars. The palace staff lined the halls, eager to welcome back their beloved princess. "Father," Michael said quietly, "I've read all the files. I understand why Catherine did what she did, but I wish she had trusted me enough to tell me." King William placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "She was protecting you, Michael. Harrington had people everywhere. If you had known, you would have been in danger too." "I know. It's just—" Michael's voice broke slightly. "She's my wife. We're supposed to face things together. And you will," King William assured him. "From now on. Look, here they come." A convoy of unmarked cars swept through the palace gates. From the middle car, a familiar figure emerged. Princess Catherine looked tired, thinner than when she'd left, but her head was held high and her eyes were clear. She was wearing simple clothes, jeans, and a sweater, but she had never looked more regal to King William. Michael ran forward, catching his wife in a fierce embrace. They held each other for a long moment, words unnecessary. King William waited, giving them their privacy, but Catherine looked over Michael's shoulder and met his eyes. In that glance was a universe of understanding, gratitude, determination, and a bond forged through shared secrets. Later, after the reunions and tears, the three of them sat in King William's private study. Catherine held Michael's hand tightly as she spoke. "I know you both have questions," she began. "The truth is, I discovered my heritage 3 months ago, completely by accident. I was researching for the Queen Margaret biography I was writing when I found inconsistencies in the records. One thing led to another, and you discovered you were her great-granddaughter, King William finished gently. Catherine nodded. At first, I didn't believe it. Then, Harrington approached me. He had known for years, apparently. He'd been waiting for the right moment to use it. He showed me proof, DNA tests he'd somehow obtained, documents that had been hidden. He wanted me to convince you to gradually hand over more power to him and his allies, or he would reveal everything. But you didn't give in, Michael said proudly. No. Instead, I started investigating him. I found evidence of his corruption going back decades. But I also realized he had the palace security system completely under his control. Every move I made was being watched. So I had to be clever. I gathered what evidence I could, made copies, and created a distribution network outside the palace. She turned to King William. I'm sorry for the letter, for disappearing. But I knew if I stayed, Harrington would either force me to comply or find a way to silence me permanently. And I couldn't let him use me to hurt the monarchy. Where did you go? Michael asked. Prague first, Catherine said with a small smile. I have had family there, descendants of Queen Margaret's son who never knew their connection to the British throne. They helped me hide, helped me coordinate the release of information. They're good people who want nothing from us except perhaps to know their family history. King William leaned forward. What do you want to do about your heritage, Catherine? The immediate threat is gone, but the truth remains. Catherine was quiet for a moment, then spoke with the wisdom that had made King William admire her from the beginning. I think some truths are meant to be held close, not hidden in shame, but treasured in private. Queen Margaret made her choice long ago. She chose duty. I choose love and family. I'm not defined by blood I never knew I had. I'm defined by the family I chose and the duty I've embraced. Then, that's what we'll do, King William decided. The secret remains within the family. The public needs to know you're a hero who exposed corruption, nothing more. Over the following weeks, the palace returned to normal, though with significant changes. A new security chief was appointed, and the entire system was overhauled. The corruption network Harrington had built was dismantled piece by piece. Those who had been blackmailed were freed from his influence, and many came forward to thank the royal family for their liberation. Princess Catherine returned to her duties with renewed purpose. Her experience had changed her. She was more confident, more aware of the complexities of palace life. She established new protocols for transparency and accountability within the royal household. The public story was carefully managed. Princess Catherine was hailed as a brave whistleblower who had risked everything to expose corruption. Her popularity soared. No one outside the trusted inner circle knew about her true heritage, and those who did understood why it needed to remain private. One evening, 3 months after her return, Catherine found herself in the Blue Room with King William. They often met there now, finding comfort in the space where so many secrets had been revealed. Do you ever regret learning the truth? King William asked her. Catherine looked up at Queen Margaret's portrait. No, the truth is always better than a lie, even when it's complicated. Queen Margaret kept her secret to protect the monarchy. I nearly lost everything to protect the same institution. We're more alike than I ever imagined. She would have been proud of you, King William said softly. I hope so. I've been thinking about completing that biography of her. Now that I know the whole story, I can write it with real understanding. Of course, some chapters will remain private. King William smiled. A story of duty, sacrifice, and love. It sounds like a bestseller. Every family has its secrets, Catherine said. Ours just happened to involve crowns and palaces. But in the end, we're just people trying to do what's right. As they left the Blue Room together, King William reflected on the extraordinary journey they had all taken. A missing princess, a hidden message, a conspiracy decades in the making, and a secret that could have destroyed everything. But they had survived, stronger and more united than ever. The portrait of Queen Margaret watched them go, her painted smile seeming a little warmer in the fading light. Her secret had nearly torn the family apart, but in the end, it had brought them closer together. The sparrow had returned to the crown, and all was well in the kingdom. Outside, the palace grounds were peaceful in the evening light. Somewhere in the residence, Prince Michael and Princess Catherine were probably planning their future, free from the shadows of blackmail and fear. The monarchy would continue, built on a foundation of truth, love, and the courage to face whatever secrets history might reveal. King William walked back to his study, thinking about the letter that had started it all. 3 days after her disappearance, Catherine's message had saved them all. Sometimes, he realized, the greatest acts of loyalty look like betrayal, and the greatest love requires temporary separation. The crisis was over, but the lessons remained. Trust, courage, and family. These were the true treasures of the crown. And with Princess Catherine back where she belonged, King William knew the future of the monarchy was in capable hands. As night fell over Elmsworth Palace, all was quiet. The secrets were safe, the family was whole, and tomorrow would bring new challenges and new triumphs. But for now there was peace. The sparrow had returned home, and the crown shone brighter for her courage.